Did you know that AI can do more than just crunch numbers? Meet ChatGPT, an AI tool that's transforming data analytics. In this video, we will explore how ChatGPT can help you not only prepare and analyze data, but also uncover valuable insights that you might have missed using both Excel and Python tools. Watch ChatGPT in action with a real-world dataset, guiding you from implementation to deploying your results for practical applications. By the end, you'll grasp data analysis fundamentals with ChatGPT, discover key ChatGPT features for smoother analysis, prepare data for analysis effectively using Excel and Python tools, conduct exploratory data analysis, create insightful summaries and visualizations.
Hello learners, today we're going to understand about data analysis, but not through a normal usual process. We're going to understand how to use ChatGPT to analyze the data. So let's get started. First, our agenda would be introduction to data analysis, then difference between ChatGPT 3.5 and GPT-4, applying Python codes to analyze a data set, and then applying Excel commands to analyze a data set on which we're going to analyze the whole data. Now we'll start understanding the introduction to data analysis. What is data analysis is? So data analysis is a method of inspecting, cleaning, transforming and modeling data to discover useful information, conclusion and support decision making. There are various steps that comes under data analysis process, such as first is data collection, second is data cleaning and pre-processing. Third one would be exploratory data analysis, then data transformation, and then model building, after that evaluation, and then at last interpretation. So next we're going to understand difference between GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. Now why I'm discussing about difference between both version, because we're going to apply the data analysis process. We're going to understand data analysis process using GPT-4, which is the latest version of ChatGPT. And before we start working on that, we should understand why we are not working on 3.5. That is an older version of ChatGPT. So there are few differences between 3.5, ChatGPT 3.5 and 4. First difference is that ChatGPT 4 is multimodal and has more processing power compared to ChatGPT 3.5. Now what it is? So the major limitation of ChatGPT 3.5 was that it was unimodal. Now what is unimodal is? In the sense of chatbot, only understand and interpret text input. In ChatGPT 4, you'll be able to apply more advanced features, such as you can upload the images, you can upload the whole data set, and you can basically upload images there. So not even text, but you can apply more advanced features using ChatGPT 4, so which we cannot do in 3.5. Second one is ChatGPT is more accurate than ChatGPT 3.5. So in terms of accuracy also, that ChatGPT 4 version working more correctly than 3.5. ChatGPT 4 can solve various problems and equations in subject as varied as calculus, geometry and algebra. ChatGPT 3.5 on the other hand can only give us the direction, like how to solve the problem, and rather than providing the actual solution there. So that's why we follow nowadays ChatGPT 4, which work better than ChatGPT 3.5. So here you can see two options, GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. So basically GPT 3.5, here if you want to upload a data set, it's not possible because we do not have the upload file option. You can ask ChatGPT if you have any question, if you want to analyze the data, you can ask by using text only. But in GPT-4, you are getting an option to upload file. So here first we're going to upload the data set on which we're going to perform data, and then based on that we'll ask ChatGPT-4 using some prompts. So let's get it started. So after uploading the data set, we're going to understand how to load the data, what is the process of data analysis. As we discussed earlier, that there are various steps that should cover under data analysis. We'll understand those steps step by step first, and then we'll move to the final analysis of the data set. Basically, that is Car-MPG over here. So for that, first we'll ask ChatGPT that what are the steps that should be covered in data analysis by using a prompt. So when I enter the prompt over here, that is what are the various steps to analyze the data, you can see that the ChatGPT 4 will show you all the steps that should be covered during the analysis process. So first is understanding the problem statement. Then after data loading, then after exploratory data analysis, that is data exploration and understanding, that has subtopics as well, which we'll discuss. And then after data cleaning, feature engineering, and data visualization. So these all are the steps that should come under data analysis process. Let's understand the first step, understanding the problem statement. So understanding the problem statement is what? Basically, you have to understand what you will achieve from the analysis. So first you have to understand the data. Like how many columns do you have in the data? How many rows do you have in your data? Your data is all about what? Second is data loading. So load the data into suitable structure to begin the analysis. Then after data exploration and understanding, that covers summary, that cover missing values, that cover duplicacy as well. Like if duplicate values are there, that we have to remove. Then univariate analysis, bivariate analysis. Now what all are these basically? First is data summary, that in this we'll get a summary of the data to understand its structure, type, and basic statistic. So basically it's about to understand the whole structure of data set on which we're going to analyze. So it covers basically how many rows do you have in the data set, how many columns do you have in the data set, and the mean of the columns and the median of the column, the standard deviation, because these all are very important factors that should be covered during analysis. Second step is missing values. So basically this missing value, basically what is about to check if there are any missing values are present in the data. If missing values are there, you will not get the clarity at the end of prediction, at the end of modeling the data. After modeling the data, you will not get the exact output. You will not get the exact prediction. So missing values should not be there. If missing values are there, for that we will follow another process that we'll discuss later. After that comes univariate analysis. But before that, I want to add one more point over here, which we are not getting in this, but that should be what? Duplicacy. So if suppose in a column, we have duplicate data, same data, but there should not be duplicate. Okay, that should be different. So in that case, we have to impute that duplicate rows as well. So that also we will check. And then after we come to univariate analysis, analyzing single variable, basically analyzing each column, each variable that comes under univariate. For that, we have a lot of charts through which we can analyze. And then after bivariate analysis, using different plots, we can analyze the bivariate analysis, which is basically what? Analyzing the relationship between two variables. So if you are analyzing a single variable, for an example, a single column, okay, like name. If you want to analyze the name of the cars, okay, different cars we have, suppose in the Car-MPG dataset. If you want to analyze how many cars we have, and suppose if you want to understand that miles per gallon, like that particular column, what we will going to see after this. So single variable, if you want to analyze, that will come under univariate. If you want to compare between two variables, if you want to check the relationship between two variables, in that case, we'll follow the bivariate analysis. For that also, we have various plots through which we can perform this analysis. Next step is data cleaning. So basically, data cleaning is what? Data cleaning, same. If you have some missing value, if you have some duplicate values, so we have to clean the data, because once you will clean the data, then only you will be able to get the correct prediction. Then only you will be able to model the data and you can model the data, but the thing is you will not be able to get the correct prediction based on that modeling of data. So here, before the data modeling, we have to clean the data properly. So here, first step comes handling missing values, imputing or removing missing value. Either you can remove or you can impute with average value, mode, or median. So basically here it depends on the data. The values, if they are very important, if we cannot remove those values, then there we have to impute with some other values. And if it is okay to remove those missing values, then we can remove. And it depends on the dataset what we are using there, and the values are very important. So we will keep that and we'll impute those missing values with some other statistical value basically. Next is outlier treatment. Identifying and treating outliers if necessary. So basically what is outlier over here? The value which is completely different if we compare with other rest of values. So here if some outliers are there, so that also we have to treat. So the next point in data cleaning is data transformation. So data transformation is what? Converting data into required format. Now what is this basically? Here data transformation, when we require this, for an example, if you have a column with the name, the name should be in the form of string data type, correct? But if the data type of that particular column is an integer, so basically the data type of that column is integer, then obviously we should change that to string. So if the data is not into the required format, so there we have to transform that data. So these three steps actually comes under data cleaning process. After that, we'll do feature engineering, creating new features that might help in analysis of modeling, that will understand properly when we perform these steps. Then after comes data visualization. So in that, we'll visualize the data using various charts. As I said earlier, univariate analysis, bivariate analysis. So that actually these analysis we generally perform through visualization by visualizing different various plot, and here visualization distribution using histogram bar chart we can do, and visualization relationship that we can do using scatter plot correlation matrices. So here univariate analysis we can perform through histogram bar chart, and if you want to understand the relationship between two variables, basically that we call bivariate analysis, so that you can do, that you can perform using the scatter plot, using heat map, also using correlation matrices. Now the next step comes statistical analysis, performing a statistical test to understand relationship, significance, etc. Model building is the next step. There we will build predictive model using machine learning or statistical methods. So basically it depends on the data, like which type of data you are using. So based on that we'll use relevant model. So next is interpretation. After modeling the data, we'll get the predictions, we'll get the final output, and based on that we're going to interpret basically the conclusion, what is the end result of the whole process what we have performed. Then after, report and communicate findings, basically presenting the finding in a clear and understandable manner to stakeholder, basically is like to whom you will going to report that whole analysis. So to them it should be very clear, because you know the data analysis might be possible that person to whom you will going to show that complete picture, they might not understand the process what you have followed. So you have to present in a very clear and in a very precise manner basically the outcome. So these all are the process which comes under data analysis, and we will follow this process and step by step we'll understand how to perform this. So now the next step is, as we have already discussed about the process, like how to perform data analysis, all the steps we have understood. We'll perform those steps one by one, and the first under that process is how to load the data set, and we'll understand about the whole data what we will going to analyze. Before we do that, first we'll click on upload file, and then we'll upload the data set. So here our data set is Car-MPG. We don't know as of now what is basically this Car-MPGs and what is all about. After uploading the data set, we're going to understand by using the prompt. We're going to ask ChatGPT a few prompts. Based on that, we'll get an output. So first prompt we're going to enter over here is, so as you can see here, we have uploaded the data set. Now we'll understand about this data first. So before that, we're going to enter a prompt. Here we are giving a prompt. The prompt is basically what we want to know through ChatGPT, what we want to understand through ChatGPT. Here we are asking that load the Car-MPG data set which we have uploaded and display the first 10 rows. What information is contained in this data set? So let's enter this and let's see what output we'll get over here. So you can see that we are getting the Python code also here, and you can see here that using this head function, we are getting the output. And parallelly, we are getting the information of all the variables which we have in the required data set, that is Car-MPG. So first is what we have asked. We have asked to load the data set. So ChatGPT will load the data set, and we were asking over here that display the first 10 rows. So by using this head function, the output will be here, will show you the 10 starting rows of the data. So we are getting the starting 10 rows. Simultaneously, we'll apply this code in Jupyter also, that whether we'll get the correct output in Jupyter Notebook or not. So that also we will check. But as of now, first we'll discuss what we are getting as an output over here. So now, as we can see, we are getting starting 10 rows. Now we're going to understand the whole data set. So this complete Car-MPG data set is having 10 columns, 10 variables basically. First is MPG, miles per gallon, that is fuel efficiency. Then after cylinder, that is CYL, number of cylinders in the engine. Then after this, that is engine displacement, which is in cubic inches. Then HP, that is horsepower. Then WT, that is weight of the car, which is in pounds. After that, ACC, that is acceleration, second required to reach 60 mph. Next is YR, that is model year, as a 2-digit number, example 72, 1970. Basically 1970 over here, it would be 70. So next is origin, that is origin code. It might represent different region or countries. Then after car type, that is type of car for which we are doing this analysis. So type of car, example 0 might represent one category and 1 might represent another. Car name, the last variable, that is name of the car, which basically include make and model. Now, this data set could be used for various analysis, such as understanding the relationship between fuel efficiency and other attributes, or classify car based on their characteristics. Here, what we will going to understand, we're going to understand the relationship between fuel efficiency and other attributes. Okay, so let's try this code in Jupyter as well. Let's see that whether we are getting the output there or not. So when we copy this code, you can copy directly from here as well. When you click over here, it will get copied, and then you can paste this code in Jupyter Notebook. So you can see I have already pasted the code. I have uploaded the data set over here. I have given the data set name, which should be in CSV format over here, because we are using the command read_CSV. So if you are uploading the data set, which is with the extension of CSV, then there you have to use this command, that is pd.read_CSV. And then you can see that we are getting all these column names over here. Now, the next is over here, you can see that we want to check the starting first rows. So what code for that? So basically here we have this code, that Car-MPG_data.head. So when I paste over here that code, let's see what outcome we'll get over here. So here we are getting what? First is this one, that whatever the code we have at last, computer will display that only. So here the last code is .head function we are giving, and based on that we are getting starting 10 rows, because head function is basically give starting 10 rows. If you want to see more rows, just enter the value inside the bracket. So if I want to check let's say 20 rows, so if I enter this, here I'm getting 0 to 90, that means 20 rows data. So head function is basically what? To display the number of rows based on the value what you are giving inside the parenthesis. Now, next is what? So next is to display the data type of all the variables from the above data set, because we want to know the type of the data which we are using in the data set. So for that, we'll ask ChatGPT by using this prompt. You can give any prompt as per your ease. So as of now, I am giving over here that display the data type of all the variables from the above data set. So when we enter this prompt, we'll get some output. So let's see what we are getting over here as an output. I'm getting the code also, which is in Python, car_mpg_ data, which is the data frame name, and .dtype. Dtypes is the function basically used to understand or used to get the output based on data type. So you can see here we are getting the result that first variable is of float, another is of integer, another one is again float, one is of object, that is HP, that is horsepower, then after weight is of integer data type, and so on. So here you are getting a complete explanation also, and the data type of the variable in the Car-MPG data set are as follows. So here we are getting all these complete explanation. What next ChatGPT is showing here is, it's worth nothing that HP column is of type object, which might indicate some irregularities in the data, such as missing value or non-numeric entries. If we need to perform numerical analysis on this column, we have to clean and convert it to the numeric data type. Now, why we are getting this? Because if you want to perform analysis, and if the analysis is numeric based, so in that case, we have to convert that. And if you are converting a variable into some other data type, before that you have to check whether we have missing values or not. So for that, we will going to apply some other code there, and let's see what output we'll get at that stage. As of now, we are skipping this part, because any which ways we're going to check whether we have missing values or not, and during that process, we'll check this column as well to understand whether how to impute the missing values or not. So yeah, here we are checking all the columns, and simultaneously we are checking the type of the data. So this is the final output. If I apply this code in Jupyter notebook, let's see whether we are getting a correct output or not. So already we have over here this code. I'll paste it over here. When I will run this code, so after applying this code, we can see that we are getting the output, and here what we are getting as an output, we are getting all the type of the datas based on the code which we have given here. So MPG is float data type, cylinder is of integer data type, same HP is of object data type, and so on. So yeah, this is correct, and as of now, whatever we are getting code through ChatGPT showing the correct output. Now let's understand the next step. So now the next step is, if you want to check is there any duplicate rows. So that is also a very important step during analysis. Duplicacy should not be there, missing value should not be there. So as a prompt I am giving here, display the duplicate rows from the above data set using Python. Why we are specifically mentioned over here Python? Because we want Python code as of now. So that's why we are specifically mentioned here using Python. When I enter this code, I'm getting some output. Let's see what output we are getting. Okay, so as a code, what we are getting over here, that finding basically here, first we have to create a variable, obviously. So the name of the variable in which the output will get stored is duplicate_rows. And we are getting the code over here that from the data, Car-MPG data, get the duplicate values. So for that, we are using here duplicated function. You can see one parenthesis over here. So if a parenthesis is there, that means that is a function. So with duplicated, we have a parenthesis. That means duplicated is a function which we are applying on the data, and that basically take out all the duplicate values. We'll show you complete duplicate values, whatever we have, whatever duplicate values are present in the data set. So when it will get stored to duplicate underscore rows, then we will call that variable and we'll get the output. As an output here, what we are getting, that empty data frame. Columns are these many columns, whatever we have already in the data set. And as an interpretation, as a final result, what ChatGPT is showing here, that the Car-MPG dataset doesn't contain any duplicate rows. All the entries in the dataset are unique. There is no duplicacy. So we can go ahead with this dataset as of now. If you have any specific questions, so you can ask. So now I really want to check whether we are getting the same output when I apply the same code in the Jupyter. So when I copy this code, I'll paste over here. Let's see what output we'll get. So there is nothing. Basically, we do not have any duplicate rows. Okay, let's go ahead with other step, and we'll apply one more prompt here. Now the next prompt I'll give over here is display the categorical and continuous variable in the dataset using Python. Why? Because I want to know that how many categorical variables do we have here, how many continuous variables do we have here. When I enter this prompt, let's see what output we are getting. Okay, so as we have asked over here that display the categorical and continuous variable in the dataset using Python, we are not asking what is categorical and continuous, but still we are getting output based on the explanation that ChatGPT is giving over here is that categorical variable are those that can take on one of limited set of values representing categories or labels, while continuous can take on an infinite set of values within a range. Based on the data type and the nature of the variable, we can identify categorical and continuous variable. So categorical variables are basically what? Variables that are typically integer or object type and represent discrete categories. And continuous is basically what? Which are typically float type and represent continuous measurement. So now here you can see the code based on the prompt what we have entered. So categorical variable ChatGPT has created in which we are storing the output, and output based on what? That select data type include object int. So we are asking if the values are of object and integer, store that column names in this variable, that is categorical variable. If the variables are of float data type, then store those column names in the form of list, because here you can see that we are giving a code that to list. So basically the columns will convert to list, and that will get stored where? In continuous variable basically. Okay, so now here removing the column that are known to be continuous but are represented as integer, that is year. So categorical variable dot remove year from the list. Now when we display, when we ask a categorical variable and continuous variable, what we'll get as an output? This is the output. So based on the data type and context, categorical variables are these many are the categorical variables, and these three are continuous variable. Because based on continuous and categorical, we'll perform the data analysis. Let's apply this code once and let's see what output we are getting in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so first is categorical. So first list is based on categorical variable. The another one we are asking here continuous variable. So the another list is what? of continuous variable. So we are getting a correct output over here. Let's understand the next part of data analysis. Whether do we have missing values in the data set or not, or if we have, then how to impute that missing values, because if we have missing values, that will impact the final outcome. So if you have missing values in your data set, so you have to impute those missing values with some other values. Like how, that we'll understand after this. Okay, so the next one is plot the distribution of the origin variable. How does the origin affect the other feature in the data set? Let's understand this also. When I enter this prompt, we are getting an output. The origin variable in the data set is likely a categorical variable representing different region or countries of origin for the cars. We can visualize its distribution using a bar plot to show the frequency of each category. Once we have an understanding of the distribution, we can further explore how the origin affects other features in the data set. Like why we are using this feature overall in the data set and how it is affecting. So this is the bar chart and showing the distribution of car origin. So 1, 2, 3, as we have 3 values in the origin variable, and first is 1, others 2 and 3, and the frequency here we are getting as on y-axis. So the bar plot above shows the distribution of the origin variable in the Car-MPG dataset, and it appears that the 3 values are there, and with the name 1 followed by origin 3 and origin 2. So origin 1 has higher frequency than origin 3 and then after origin 2. Let's explore how the origin affects other feature in the dataset by summarizing some key statistic for numerical variables, and how we'll understand that. There is complete explanation. We'll come back to this code also. So now here you can see we have applied mean function, and we actually want to know how this variable is impacting. Okay, what is the importance on other variables? So MPG origin 3 has highest value fuel per efficiency, so miles per gallon. So origin 3 has the highest mean value, followed by origin 2 and origin 1. So highest will be origin 3. This suggests that the cars which are from the origin 3 are generally more fuel efficient. If the cars are from origin 2, so they are comparatively with origin 3 less efficient, and the origin 1 has the least value. So the cars which are from the origin 1 comparatively with origin 3 and 2 have less fuel efficient cars. Okay, so next is cylinder, displacement and horsepower. So cars from origin 1 have high range value, and other one is car from origin 2 and 3 have a smaller engine with few cylinders and lower horsepower. That's how this origin is important for understanding the other features. Based on different origin, we have different values of each column, and that we are getting through this summary. So how we are getting this summary? By using this code. When we apply this code, group by origin.mean function. Mean function will give the mean value of origin, and column wise, the other column wise, here you can see MPG of origin 1 is 20, cylinder is 6.2. So the highest value of miles per gallon is for origin 3, then after 2, and then after 1. We have already discussed what does it mean. Let's copy this code from here and apply, and just check that whether we are getting the output. Yes, we are getting the correct output, what we were getting through ChatGPT, and that's how we can understand that the distribution of the origin variable and how this variable affect the other features in the data set and the importance of this variable. So thank you. So now we're going to understand whether do we have missing values in the data set or not. So for that, first we'll ask ChatGPT by using this prompt that identify and handle any missing values in the Car-MPG data, and how did you choose to handle them and why. Let's see what output we'll get over here. So we are getting an output. I want to know what code ChatGPT will display over here for that if we have missing values. Okay, so now let's understand this part first. To handle missing values, we first need to identify whether they are in the data set or not. Once we have found them, we can decide on an appropriate method to handle them based on the context of the data. If we can remove those missing values and it will not impact the whole data set, like because of removing the values from the data, if it is not impacting the main data set, then we can remove. But if we remove the missing values related rows and if it impact the data set, then there we have to use some process that is called imputing the missing values, and that can be done by using some relevant code. But here first is what common strategies we have for this type of issues is removing rows that I already discussed, that deleting rows with missing values if they are few in number and if they are not impacting, like if we remove the values and they are not impacting the main data set, then we can remove. Filling with mean and median. So filling missing values with the mean or median value of the column suitable for continuous variable. Next is filling with mode. Filling missing values with the mode most frequent value of the column suitable for categorical variable. Using interpolation, interpolating values based on surrounding data suitable for time series or order data. So basically here what we do if missing values are there and if we do not want to remove those rows which contain the missing values, so we'll impute those missing values with mean, median or mode value and then we can proceed further. Here let's understand whether do we have the missing values in our data set or not. So for that we have a code over here, missing values summary equal to Car-MPG data dot is null. Is null is the main function to check whether do we have any missing values or not. Suppose if we have 5 missing values in one column, so that will get sum up by using sum function, and the final total number of values for a particular column will get displayed as an output. That will store in this variable which we have created over here, and when we call this variable we'll get the final output. So this is the main code. Based on that, what ChatGPT is showing over here as a result is 0. Means we do not have any missing values in the columns. It appears that there are no missing values in the Car-MPG dataset as indicated by the summary above. However, we previously noticed that horsepower, that is HP column, has an object data type which might indicate some irregularities in the data, such as non-numeric entries. So let's investigate this column to see if there are any unusual values that need to be handled. So we have already discussed about this column, that column is of object data type. This column also we have to check that whether this column has a missing value or not. If this column has a missing value, so we have to work on it. So the code related with this is this one, same. And if in the object data type any missing values is there, so we'll impute those values. So here as an output we are getting a question mark is there in the column. That means that particular row doesn't have any value. Those rows have only question mark instead of any appropriate value. It seems that HP column contains some question mark, that character which likely represent missing or unknown values. These values are not recognized as null or NaN. So we need to handle them. Given that here what we are getting is an output that HP is a numerical variable representing horsepower. Obviously horsepower basically should be a numerical value, but a common approach is to replace them unknown values with the median value of the column. So let's proceed with replacing the character with HP column with the median value of the known horsepower values. So how to convert? See, first is this column is of object data type, but in general we know that horsepower should be of numerical because the values are in numbers, and if we have any column which showing numeric values but the data type is different, So there we have to convert that column with the correct data type. So we have already done over here with apply function. Okay. Next is, this is the complete code. What we are doing over here is we are imputing the missing values with the median value. So when we do that, then after in HP also we are getting 0 because now we have filled those unknown rows or missing rows with median values of HP, and because of that we are now having no missing values present in the data set. The missing values in the HP column have been successfully handled, and how it got handled? With the median value of the known horsepower values. That median, mean, mode, how we get these values, that we'll understand after this. So now there are no missing values or unknown values in the Car-MPG dataset. Now I chose to handle the missing values in this way because here ChatGPT is giving the reason also, that why ChatGPT chose to handle missing values in this way, because replacing with the median preserve the central tendency of the HP distribution. The median is less sensitive to outliers. Basically, outliers are which is very different from the main values what we have in the column. Let's say HP only. So if we suppose have A, B, C, D, E values in one column, all of a sudden if we are giving their Z, right? So that is very far from the continuous series what we have in the column, right? So that Z will consider as an outlier. So here the median is less sensitive to outliers, so it provides a more robust estimate for filling in missing values. Since horsepower is a continuous variable, using the median is a suitable method for imputing missing values. So that's how we can impute, but again we're going to check whether based on this code we are getting the correct output in Jupyter Notebook also. So let's copy this code first. I'll copy and I'll paste it here. So now here we are getting the output based on this code, that we have missing values, and that missing value basically what, in rows we have some values with this type of character, which is not a value, which is not anything. It is completely unknown value. And now we have to impute this. So based on this type of character, we'll not get a correct prediction. So the next code for that is to impute this value. So when I paste here, we'll run this code. We are checking that missing values after handling. This variable contain all the column names from the data set, and will show you whether we have any missing values left or not. So here we are getting all the names of the column, and parallelly we are getting over here the number of values if missing values are there. So no, there is no missing value because we are getting as an output 0. This is the output what we were getting in the ChatGPT also. So that's how we can impute the missing values if we have any values which is unknown in the data set, and how to impute that we have already discussed. We'll now move ahead with another step. So let's understand the new step for data analysis. So now we have covered till now univariate analysis, bivariate analysis. We have seen that summary statistics, and we have checked that what data set is all about. Everything we have discussed till now. Now we're going to apply a model on the data set to predict the fuel efficiency. So here I'm using a prompt using the Car-MPG data, build a regression model to predict fuel efficiency. What feature did you include and how well does the model perform? When I enter this prompt, as I'm going to building a model on my data set to predict the fuel efficiency. So building a regression model to predict fuel efficiency involves selecting features. So before we discuss the regression model over here, we'll ask ChatGPT that why we are using here regression model. Okay, when I enter this, I'll get some output. Let's discuss that also. Regression model are used to understand and quantify the relationship between dependent and one or more independent variables. So one would be target variable on which we're going to do the prediction. So here, which one is the target variable, which one is the independent variable, that also we'll discuss. Now we are using here regression model because of some reasons. First is nature of the dependent variable, that is MPG. MPG is the target variable. We're going to predict the fuel efficiency over here. So that is the target variable. The target variable MPG is a continuous numerical variable. Regression model are designed to predict continuous outcome, making them a suitable choice of this problem. Now, exploration of relationship, that regression model allow us to explore the relationship between target and features, quantify how changes in features like weight, horsepower, cylinder affect fuel efficiency. So this is the best model to predict the final outcome based on the target variable. So these all are the reasons. In summary, basically why we are using regression is for the Car-MPG data set, that with the nature of the problem, the characteristic of the data and the goal of the analysis or prediction, it provides a statistical framework for understanding how various features of car influences the fuel efficiency, offering both exploratory insight and predictive capability. So in short, we can say that as the variable is continuous variable, so in this case we should use the regression model. That is the best model through which we will get the correct prediction based on our data set. Now we're going back and understand the output which we are getting through this prompt. Using the Car-MPG data, build a regression model. Building a regression model, here you can see that how many features we have selected. We'll consider the following feature, and these all are the independent variables, and one would be the target, that is MPG over here. This feature include various aspects, okay, and which influence actually the fuel efficiency, that means the target variable. These all are the independent variables, and they actually somewhere or somehow they are influencing the main target variable. That's why they all are comes under independent, and the target variable would be then MPG. Data pre-processing, after that we're going to split the data into features and target, means one would be X and the other target would be Y. We're going to split that target variable from the independent variables, and then further divided into training and testing set. Then we're going to build the model. So we'll use a linear regression model, a common choice for predicting a continuous outcome variable. As we have already discussed this, let's start. How we're going to do that? There is a code for that. There are required libraries which you have to import first. Then only you will be able to split the data into training and testing, and you will be able to modeling the data set. So this is the complete code for that, and based on that we are getting this result. Now the thing is, we'll discuss this code step by step. We have imported all the required libraries as we are using linear regression model. So we have to import linear regression model from this sklearn.linear model library. Then after train and test split, why we are importing this? Because we're going to split the data into target and the independent variable. Then after from sklearn.metrics, we're going to import mean squared error and R2 square, because we'll check the accuracy of the model. So here we have splitted the data set into X and Y. X will contain all the independent variable and Y will contain the target variable. And then we'll split these data, and after that we're going to create and training the linear regression model. So we will apply this linear regression function. We'll store that in the model variable, and on this model variable we're going to fit the X train and Y train. Y train has the target variable value, and X train will have the independent variable values. Here the Y-pred variable consists the testing set on which we're going to predict. So this is all about how to apply the code, what to do to get the final prediction, and at last we're going to calculate the performance metrics, that how this model performed, and that we can understand by using MSE and R square values, and we are getting the final output. Let's discuss one by one the final result. Mean squared error is 7.25 and R square is 0.8652. So what is the interpretation based on this model? The mean square error is what? Represent the average square difference between the actual and the predicted variable. The trend data set X train and Y train has actual values and predicted values what? Based on test. So a lower MSE indicate a better result, better fit of the data, and MSE of 7.25 means that on average the model predictions are off by the square root of this value and approximately 2.69 mpg. R squared over here is what? Is a measure of how well the model's prediction match the actual data. Means what actual data we have, if it is getting matched with the prediction, how well it is getting matched. So it's based on while we check the R square value. Here the value is 0.8652, that is 86.5%. So that approximately is what? The variation in MPG explained by the selected feature. So this is the R squared, this is MSE, we have already discussed. Conclusion is what? The model shows a relatively good fit to the data. If you are getting higher value of R squared by 86%, that means your model performed well. And feature includes what? Cylinder, displacement, and these all are the features. Based on that we were predicting the target. We already know, that is MPG. The model could be further improved and validated through techniques such as cross validation and all, if you want to improve your model more. As of now, by seeing these values, R squared, the performance matrix, we can come to the conclusion that the model shows a relatively good fit to the data, explaining a significant portion of the variation in fuel efficiency. So this is all about the modeling of data. And we have discussed this part, but through ChatGPT we were discussing. Let's apply this code in Jupyter Notebook and let's see that the output what we are getting here is same in Jupyter Notebook also. So when I enter this, I'm getting the same output, and this is the final output. Here also you can compare, right? So this is all about the data analysis of the Car-MPG data set. One more prompt I'm going to enter here. You can see, analyze the feature importance in the regression model. What features have the most influence on fuel efficiency and why? So based on the interpretation, if you want to know that which feature is having the importance and which actually somewhere influencing the fuel efficiency, which one has the highest value based on that influence. So we're going to check this by using this prompt, that analyze the importance of features. And how we're going to do that? Feature importance, basically we generally check just to understand the prediction what we are getting there, which particular feature or which features having more impact on the target variable. So here, if you can see the code, feature importance, pd.data frame, we are giving feature and coefficient values. One column would be of feature and another would be of coefficient. This coefficient, by seeing this value, we can understand, okay, this feature has the highest impact and this feature is actually influencing our target variable more. So out of all these, we can see that the table above shows the coefficient of each feature in linear regression model, reflecting their influence on fuel efficiency, that is MPG column. So car type is the most influential feature over here with a positive coefficient 5.82, which indicate that the car with the higher value are associated with high fuel efficiency. So this value is somewhere influencing this MPG variable more. Then after comes 1.49 coefficient, that is of cylinder, and then origin, and the least is weight, a small negative influence indicating that heavy car tends to have slightly low fuel efficiency. So this has the negative influence. So why we want to check the importance of features? Because we should understand that which feature has high impact on the target variable. And the conclusion over here is the feature car type, cylinder, origin and year seem to have the most significant influence on the fuel efficiency, and based on that we can work. And the interpretation of this coefficient should be done with caution, as the nature of the variable, potential multicollinearity and other factor can affect the coefficient. So this is the final analysis that features in our data set, how they are impacting the main target variable. And this is the way we can analyze the data. And the last step we're going to perform now, we're going to apply this code also in Jupyter to check whether we are getting the correct output or not. When I enter this, the output what we are getting here in ChatGPT, we are getting here also. So that's how you can analyze your data, whatever you want to analyze. You can easily do that by using ChatGPT. It's so easy to understand because you are getting the code also, and you can see that I was parallelly applying the same code in Jupyter and I was getting the correct output there also. So it's very easy to understand, and with that it's very easy to get the complete explanation also here. If suppose somewhere if you stuck that what is the meaning of particular function or a particular code, that also you can easily understand using ChatGPT. So it actually make your data analysis process easy and very understandable. So that's how we can analyze the data using ChatGPT. Parallelly, you can apply this code what you are getting through ChatGPT in other notebook like Colab or Jupyter, just to check whether you are getting the correct output or not. And one thing I can add over here is we should play around with ChatGPT. Like we can explore more also here. These all are the steps of data analysis using Python. And if you want to know more concept based on the output what we are getting, that also you can explore by asking or by applying or by adding prompts in the ChatGPT. That makes your data analysis journey more easy. So yeah, this is all about how to analyze the data using Python code through ChatGPT. Thank you. So now, as we were continuously discussing about missing values, how to impute missing values with median, we have to impute, or we should impute with mode or mean. What is all about like mean, median, mode? What is these values are? So we'll understand this by using this prompt. We'll get to know. So the prompt which I'm going to enter over here is display the Python code for summary statistic for the numerical variables in the Car-MPG dataset in a tabular format. What insight can you gain from this statistic? So let's see what is summary statistic is. Here, as we are getting the output, so we can use describe method in pandas to obtain summary statistic for the numerical variable in the Car-MPG dataset. This method will provide us with the count, mean, standard deviation, minimum 25th quartile, median 75th quartile, that is Q3, and maximum for each numerical variable. I know it's a bit confusing for you, but we'll understand these all terms step by step. Here we are getting the code to get the summary statistic, but we do not know what is basically summary statistic is. So that we'll ask first to the ChatGPT, and then we'll come back to this part. We are getting the complete output based on the prompt which we entered over there. But let's understand first what is summary statistic is. So we'll ask ChatGPT that explain summary statistic. So now, first we'll understand all the terms what I was saying here, that mean, median, mode, standard deviation and all, summary statistic. We'll understand this part and then we'll go back to that code. So here, summary statistic provide a concise description of the main aspect of the data set, particularly for numerical variables. Obviously, because if you want to check the mean of the column, it should be a numeric value. Then only you will get the mean, median or mode. So this help in understanding the distribution, central tendency and dispersion of the data. Such a heavy term. So we'll understand this first. What is central tendency? What is dispersion of the data? What next we are getting over? Let's see that also first. So the commonly used summary statistics are count, which will count what? the total number of non-null observation in the data set. It helps in understanding the size of the data set and identifying any missing values. Mean, the arithmetic average. Median is the middle value that is specify the higher half from the lower half of the data set. Now the next is standard deviation, a measure of the dispersion or spread of the values. A high standard deviation indicate greater variability, while a low standard deviation indicates that the value are closer to the mean. Minimum, the smallest value in the data set. Maximum, the largest value of the data set. Data set basically will show you like for each column. Now the percentile. This percentile will divide into three parts: 25th, 50 and 75. 50 is basically what? This one. The 25th percentile, that is Q1, is the value below which 25% of the observations fall. And 75th percentile, that is Q2, in which the value below which 75% of the observation fall. And in between, we check the median value, that is 50%. So now the range is the next one, the difference between the maximum and the minimum value. That is called an idea of the spread of the data, like how the data is spread. Next is interquartile range, that is IQR. It is also a difference. So what is this? Basically the difference between 75th and 25th percentile value, representing the range within which the middle, that is 50% of the value, falls. It is a robust measure of spread that is non-affected by outliers. Next is mode, the value that appears most frequently in the data set. This mode median we have already studied in mathematics. Same meaning is over here also. Next is variance. Variance is the average of the square difference from the mean. It's another measure of dispersion. With the higher value indicate greater variability. Variance means what? That also you can ask if you're still confused. So you can simply just ask, explain in detail. So we'll give over here as a prompt that explain variance in detail. When I enter this, here I'll get what? Variance is a statistical measure that describes the spread of a set of data points within the data set. It quantifies how far individual number in the data set are from the average and thus provide insight into the overall variability of the data. So how we calculate, that is another thing, but here basically we'll get all these values in the summary statistic. So now let's go back to the code, and here we are getting the output. We are getting the output for each column. We are getting count, we are getting mean. Count is basically the sum, okay? Count means total value basically. Here count is what? Let's understand this. What ChatGPT is showing the total number, okay, of non-null observation in the data set. So now here we have count, mean, standard deviation, min 25%, 50%, 75, that is Q1, and 75 is Q3, max value, minimum value, and so on, right? So let's understand this particular code, that whether it's giving correct output in Jupyter Notebook or not. When I will enter this here, I'm getting the complete summary. This is the complete summary, that is the complete statistic of our data set, which is showing the minimum value, minimum or maximum value, min, that is average, standard deviation, like how the data is deviated. So these all are the statistic. Next is why we always check this. As you know that we have one column over here, that is HP. So when we were checking the missing values, we found that this column has some missing values. And we cannot remove those rows because will impact the data set if we remove. So what we did there, we imputed with median, right? So by seeing this statistic, we can come to the conclusion that like with which value we can impute those missing values. So there we imputed the missing values with median. We can impute with average value, that is mean also, or median as well. Now as of now, we have discussed the statistical summary of the dataset. Now let's understand the next step, which comes under data analysis. So this is the summary statistic. Now we'll check what output we are getting here in terms of explanation. So first column is MPG, ranges from 9 to 46.6 MPG. The average fuel efficiency is around this, that is mean value. Standard deviation is 7.8, indicating the variability in the dataset. Same, there might be some high fuel efficient cars, and the maximum value of this particular column is 46.6. Same, we are getting the interpretations based on the other columns, that is cylinder, displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration, year. So now here is origin also we have, which is a very important column, and we have horsepower is also an important column. So we can see that we are getting fair enough outcome based on the prompt which we have given over here for ChatGPT, and we are getting the correct output as well because we have already checked in Jupyter Notebook. So let's understand the next step that comes under data analysis. Thank you. So now we'll understand how all the variables are correlated with each other by using correlation matrix. So when I give this prompt that create a correlation matrix for the Car-MPG data, will show you the relationship between all the variables. Because that also we have to understand when we increase one variable, that what is the impact on other variables, how they all are correlated with each other. When I enter this prompt, let's see what output we are getting here. So here first is correlation matrix, provide a numerical summary of the linear relationship between pair of variables. It contains correlation coefficient that range from -1 to 1, -1 indicating a negative linear relationship, 1 indicating a perfect positive. Basically, when we are getting the graph in upward direction, basically that means that is positive linear relationship. Negative means that because of 1, the other value is getting decreased. 0 indicating that there is no relationship between the variables. So when I check the code over here to get the correlation matrix, there is a function which we have to apply on the data set. The function name is over here is CORR, that is core function, which will give you the complete summary, of what? Of how all the variables are related with each other. And you can see that we are getting over here the result, and the result is that first MPG and this year, these are related with 0.57 negative. Basically, if like yearly this value is getting decreased. So let's understand this complete statistic, whatever summary we are getting here through ChatGPT, MPG and engine characteristic. So here you can see this is the complete relationship, and let's understand step by step. MPG and cylinder, strong negative correlation, which means that MPG and the cylinder variables are negatively correlated. More cylinders associated with low fuel efficiency. MPG and displacement, strong again negative correlation, which means large value of displacement leads to lower fuel efficiency. MPG and horsepower, again the strong negative correlation, which means high value of HP column associated with the low value of MPG, that is fuel efficiency. Same when we compare MPG and weight, strong negative correlation. Heavier car tends to have low fuel efficiency. Means the weight of a car, if it is high, if it is more, so that will tend to low fuel efficiency. So the value of MPG will get decreased. So that is why here the correlation is strongly negative. Next is cylinder displacement, horsepower and weight. These variables are strongly positive correlated with each other. Because of one variable, the other variable is getting increased. So more cylinders typically means large displacement, will give high horsepower and greater weight. Acceleration and other variables, negative correlation. Acceleration and MPG has positive correlation. Cars with faster acceleration tends to be more fuel efficient. Then after air and MPG, moderate positive correlation, because here you can see the value is 0.58. So these all are text based analysis, right? What if we want to see this through a chart? Like how to visualize this correlation matrix through chart. So let's ask the ChatGPT itself, like how to visualize this correlation matrix, and how we're going to ask this. So now if we want to visualize this summary statistic, which is coming in the form of numbers, if I want to visualize using a chart, I don't know which chart I should use over here to visualize the whole data. So I'll ask ChatGPT itself that visualize the above output of correlation matrix using an appropriate chart. Let's see what outcome we'll get over here. So for visualizing the correlation matrix, heat map is the best chart, and it's the best way to visualize. So here you can see that heat map is an excellent way to visualize correlation matrix, as it allows us to quickly identify the strength and the direction of the relationship, whether it is negative or positive correlation, and whether correlation is there or not, so that we can easily understand. And stronger correlation will have more intense color, with positive correlation typically shown in one color, example over here is blue, and negative correlation in another. So let's see what output we'll get over here. So this is the code to generate the heat map, and this is the output based on that code. So you can see that this is the final correlation matrix using heat map. The heat map above visualizing the correlation matrix for the Car-MPG dataset, providing basic understanding of the relationship between all the variables. And you can see that if I compare this cylinder and car type, negative correlation. If I compare cylinder variable, or let's say MPG, so if I compare MPG variable with cylinder, again it is a negative correlation. And let's see which one is the positive one. So the positive one is this one, origin and car type. It is positively correlated. And if the color code is dark, that means they are highly correlated, either negative or positive. If the color code is light, so they are correlated but not strongly correlated. So here you can see that HP and this disk. So here it is related, how it is correlated, 0.9 with 0.9. So there is a high correlation. So that's how we can understand the correlation matrix. We can visualize the correlation matrix using heat map. So this is one way to visualize correlation matrix. Let's apply this code. Let's understand this code when we paste this in Jupyter Notebook, and we'll see whether we'll get an correct output or not. So when I copied this code over here, I'll enter, and let's see whether we are getting the output. Okay, we are getting an error. Correlation matrix. Okay, so here it's showing an error. Why? Because we are calling here directly the variable correlation matrix. We are giving as a variable over here based on which variable you want to display the heat map, and I'm giving here correlation matrix. Correlation matrix computer here, the notebook is not getting any variable with the name correlation matrix. So first we have to check the previous code. Here you can see that we have stored all that correlation summary, that is statistic, in this variable, which we were not defining in the notebook. So obviously we will not get an output. So first I will copy this code. When I'll copy and paste over here, then we'll sure get an output. Let's see. So here first, by using this correlation function, that is CORR, we'll store the complete statistic correlation matrix in this variable. And when we call this variable in heat map, so we'll get the complete chart based on the correlation matrix of our data set. So this is the complete output what we are getting over here. That means the code what ChatGPT is generating is giving a correct output. So till now we have understood how to analyze data using Python code through ChatGPT. Now we're going to understand data analysis using Excel command through ChatGPT. So first we need to understand what are the various steps to perform the data analysis using Excel. So when I enter this prompt over here, I'm getting the explanation based on that. Means I'll get various steps that needs to be covered during analysis by using Excel. So collect data, import data. So how we'll collect data? We will collect data in the form of Excel sheet. We're going to import that. First we have to open Excel, then we have to copy paste, or we can directly open the file, Excel file CSV format, and we'll use that complete data set for the analysis. Next step is cleaning and pre-processing, handle missing value if we have. Data formatting. Formatting means format cells properly to ensure consistency. Remove duplicates. We have already discussed this part when we were discussing using Python code. Remove duplicates is actually very important part. Convert text to columns if needed. So it's just if you need to convert the transformation if it is required there. So there we have to convert the text to column. Now data exploration and summarization, sort and filter. Using sort and filter to explore specific segments of data. Pivot table to create a pivot table. Why? To summarize and aggregate data across different dimensions. Calculate descriptive statistic. Statistic we have already discussed, like if you want to know the average, median and standard deviation, etc. to calculate the summary statistic there. Visualization using different charts, we can do that. And analysis and modeling. So apply formulas and function for that. We're going to do that. Then after analysis and modeling and interpretation and insight generation. Today we're going to analyze the data using Excel. Let's understand data analysis using Excel command step by step. So these all are the steps which we have already covered when we were discussing the data analysis using Python code. So the first prompt for analyzing the data using Excel command is write the Excel command for the above data set. We have already loaded the data. So write the Excel command for the above data set to check the data types. Because obviously if it is the starting process of data analysis, we have to check the data types of the data which we're going to use for further analysis. When I enter this, let's see what explanation here, what output we are getting. So in Excel, you cannot directly check the data type. We have to apply some formula to check that. So we have to select the cell for which you want to check the data type. So however, you can use various methods. Which method? Let's discuss that. Use the number format drop down menu. Select the cell or column you want to inspect. Look at the number format drop down menu on the home tab. Select format. Use Excel function and infer data types. So we're going to use this formula. How we're going to use? We are going to understand which data type we want to check. Suppose if you want to check the column has numeric value, or if the column is having text value, or the column has date type of values. So for that we have three functions. So through that we can check if the value is numeric, then what we get. Let's see, we're going to apply the same function. We're going to apply the same formula there in Excel. One more way is inspect cell format manually. Right click on the cell or column, select format cell and look at the number tab. So that's how also you can do. Power query, one more is there. We're going to apply this formula. Let's apply this. Here A1 is what? With the reference to the cell you want to check. So I want to check whether the column has numeric value or not. If it is not numeric, then what output will get there. So I'll go to that Excel sheet. I'll apply here this formula. So I'll change this value. I want to check for which column? This one. Okay, let's check the till 399. We have the values here. So when I select the range over here, let's see, you can see that from A2, that means column A, row number 2, till A399, column A till 399th row. So when I am applying this range, I will check whether from column A to A399 is number or is not a number or is not a numeric value. So when I enter this, so it's showing here true. So when I enter after giving the range in that formula, I'm getting true. That means the values which comes under first column, that is MPG, is numeric value. Okay, that's how you can check the data type. If you want to check for other column, you just have to select the range from where to where you want to check the data type. So that's how you can check. Other processes are there. Other process means other ways are there to check the data type. I want you to explore these steps. I have applied one way. You can apply other ways as well to get the data type of each column. Now the next prompt what we're going to apply here is write the Excel command to check the missing values for the above data set. So this is the next prompt, and based on that we're going to understand whether do we have missing values or not. So when I enter this prompt, I will get the required formula, and based on that we can check whether do we have missing values in our columns. If we have missing value, then we'll impute those values or we can remove based on the data set. So here we have a lot of ways. So first is we can check by using isBlank function. Next is conditional formatting. Third way is using filter to identify blank cell. But sometimes the cell will not remain blank. Some values would be there, but they could be like unknown or some missing value like question mark, right? So that is not a blank cell. Value is there. So this process will not be so helpful to find out the missing value. Using a pivot table to summarize missing values, using the if function with isBlank for custom messages. So let's apply the first one. Okay. So this formula when I apply, let's select this from here. Let's go to that Excel sheet. Apply here this formula. So as I have applied over here, the formula is blank, and I'm selecting some rows from the first column. A3 to A25 I'm selecting as of now. You can see that A3 to A25. When I enter, I am getting false. So basically false is showing over here that we do not have any blank cell over here, right? What if we have missing value in terms of question mark? That question mark will comes under what? The unknown value, okay, which is not giving any worth to the required column. So that also comes under missing value. So there we cannot get the exact output through this particular formula. So what we can do in that case? So what I will do here, we can apply one more way to do that is conditional formatting. One more is using filter. So that filter we can apply in the Excel sheet for each column. Suppose if I want to check in this column, okay, I want to apply the filter. Where I will go? I'll go to this data. Here I am getting this filter option. I'll apply filter because as I've selected one column over here. So on that I'm getting this filter option. When I will click on this arrow, I'm getting all the unique values, okay. Here you can see one value is question mark, right? So this value is completely unknown to us, right? All values are numeric except this question mark, and question mark is comes under missing value only. So what we can do, we will filter out this value. Like how many rows do we have in our data set with this type of character? So I will select what? First I'll deselect all the values and I'll select only this one and click on OK. So out of 399 rows, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have how many rows? Here you can see 6 rows. Okay, that has this question mark character. Basically, these all are missing values only. So we have to impute this missing value. How we can do that? So we can do that by imputing these question mark with median, average, or mode of this particular column. So for that, what I can do, I can suggest you one more way. First, we need to understand why we are imputing with average, mean, or median. So here, if the value is giving an importance and if we remove that missing value will not impact the data set, then we can remove directly that rows. But if the values what we have in the data set, somewhere it giving the importance, okay, somewhere it is actually impacting the data set, so there we should impute those missing values with average, mean, and mode that we have already discussed when while discussing the data analysis using Python. So here we need to import those 6 rows with that question character with medium, average, and mode value. If you want to check the average value, let's impute here with mean. So what I can do here, I will select this column. You can see here sum we are getting, average we are getting 104, right? So the average value of this particular column, if I select this whole column, here also I am getting the average value 104.469. Or one more way is there, we can apply what? The formula equal to average. Formula we can apply where just select a cell. Here if I will select equal to average, or we can select median also. So if I select median of what? So we have to give the range over here. So I'll select the range from where? From here to till 399. So the column is D, from D2 till D399. So D2 colon D399. I want the median value. When I enter, I'm getting 93.5. So we can impute those missing values with this median value. Okay. How to impute now? So I will select this first column. Okay. But let's discuss this first with ChatGPT. How to impute missing values. So when I go back to the ChatGPT, here I am getting like how to get the missing value. Now we'll understand how to impute the missing values if we have in the data set. So when I enter this, we will get some suggestions from ChatGPT. So through ChatGPT, I am getting here some suggestions that here's our common approach, which we can use. Calculate the mean of the column. We have already calculated mean. We will impute the value not by using mean, we will impute with median. So instead of applying average function, we can apply median function there. And then after we can replace the original column with the imputed. How we can do that? These all are the different ways to impute the values. If you want to replace the original value in column with the imputed value, you can just copy column C and paste it as values into column A, Control plus C, select column, right click and choose paste spatial and value. So now we're going to impute the value with the median. As we know, the median value is 93.5. We know some missing values we have in this HP column. We'll select this whole column. We'll filter the values, and here we will deselect all the values. Only we will select the question mark character rows, and we are having here that suppose 3 rows with question mark. We're going to impute this. How we're going to impute this? We'll select these rows. We'll press Ctrl H here, and you can see find what, replace with what. So with replace with 93.5. First find this question mark rows and replace this with the median value. When I'll click on replace all, you can see that all values got replaced with 93.5, and that's how we can impute the missing values. So that's how we can impute the missing values if you have in your data. Thank you. Now we're going to understand if any columns are in the incorrect format. So how we can convert the type of that values, like how to convert to other data type by using Excel command. So I'm giving here as a prompt that write the Excel command to convert data types. If any columns are in the incorrect format, convert them to the appropriate type for the above data set. So when I enter this prompt, let's see what output we are getting over here. In Excel, you can convert data type using various methods. Here we are getting multiple ways to convert the data type, and we will going to apply one way. Other ways you can apply later. First way is converting text to number. If a column has numbers, but the data type of that column is text, so we're going to convert that column into number. So how to do that? So select the cell, column, and which containing the text you want to convert, and go to data tab and click on text to column. That's how we can do. Follow the wizard, you choosing delimited or fixed width as needed, and select the appropriate data format. One way is converting number is stored as text. Another way is how to convert dates stored as text. So this is the way to convert dates which is stored as a text. Changing number format, converting text to proper case, uppercase, lowercase. So these all are the ways to convert the values into the respective data type. Now we're going to perform, for an example, if I want to convert text to number. So how I can do that? So I have to select the cell or a column which containing the text which you want to convert. After that, go to the data tab. So let's first select the cell. For an example, if I select, I want to convert the value, here is 130. For an example, let's say if I give here, not 130, I'm giving here n. Okay, this is the text. Now, if I want to convert this value with the data type number, how to do that? So first I will select this. Next step would be go to the data tab and click on text to column. So when I go to data tab, where is data tab? And then after, what do you have to select? Text to column. Here you have to select what? Characters such as commas or tabs separated each field. Fixed width fields are aligned in column with spaces between each field. Now what is this? We'll check the last step. Follow the wizard, choosing delimited or fixed width as needed, and select the appropriate data format. So I will select here, for an example, delimited. So when I will select this, after this, in which format you want to select? General, date, if you want to convert in date, which way you want to convert this, that's how you can select. And for an example, I want to convert in text. It's already in text. It is in the numeric data type. That n is not text over here. This n over here is what? Numerical. Okay, it is in the form of integer, either integer or float. So how we can convert that? So first click text and then finish. So this particular value will get changed to other data type, which will be text data type. I'll change this value. For now, it should be 130. So now, after discussing about how to convert data type, as of now it is not required in our data set, so we'll not go in deep. But here the next prompt which we really need to check is that to calculate basic statistic for the data set, what we have already shared here. So we're going to ask ChatGPT, write an Excel command to calculate the basic statistic for the above data set. When I enter this prompt, let's see what output we are getting. So now in Excel, you can see the output. What you are getting here is you can calculate basic statistics, that is mean, median, which we have already discussed, like what is summary statistic and what summary statistic covers. Basically, it covers mean, median, standard deviation, minimum and maximum value using built-in function here. So here, how we can apply these function? We have some inbuilt function in Excel which we can apply directly, and we can get these values like mean, median, standard deviation, mode. Okay, so first let's see how to get the output based on this function. So here, if I use this formula, what is this? to get the mean value. That means to get the average of each column. So for an example, if I want to know the average, so what I will do here, I'll just apply the formula here equal to average. Automatically you will get the name. From drop down list, you just select this, and the formula is asking you the range from where to where you want the mean. Suppose if I want to select for MPG column, the average value if I want to know of this first column, that is MPG, what I will do here, I will select the range. So from where I want to select, from A2, that means A column, second row, till 399, as we have 399 rows for this data set. So I will select A column, second row, from A2 to A399. So I'll give here A2. After that, I'll give colon and A399. I'll close this with parenthesis, and when I will enter, here I'm getting the mean is 23.49. So this is the mean of this first column. That's how you can check the average, that means the mean of other column as well. So now we're going to understand the median. So how we're going to do that? We're going to apply, instead of average, median. So equal to median. When you will type median, automatically you are getting this name in the drop down list, and you just double click on that. Again, you have to give the range from where to where you want the median value. I want now this time median for this column, that is cylinder. Okay, so I will select the range. That means the cylinder column is of B column, and want range from B2 to B399. So B2 column B399, that is 399th row. Till 399th row, I want median value. So when I enter, I am getting here the median of B2 to B399 is 4. So that's how we can calculate the median and other statistics as well. As we have a standard deviation, for that you only have to apply what? Equal to standard deviation. The form is STDEV, that is standard deviation. You only have to select the range from where to where you want a standard deviation. Obviously, for each column, you have to select all the values for the data set, because we are not analyzing few rows and columns, we are analyzing the whole data set. So you have to select the all values from the columns. You can select minimum value also. How? Which one is the minimum? Let's select this formula here. I will apply this for one column in my Excel sheet. Let's apply this. Minimum. Now here I will change the range. I want to check the minimum value of this column origin. So origin has column H, and from H2 to H399, I want to check the minimum value in this column. So H2 till H399. When I will enter, the minimum value is 1. Why I showed this? Because here we can easily see that we only have 3 origin, right? Which we have already discussed when we were analyzing the data using Python. So here you can see that we have 3 values, 1, 2, 3, and out of 1, 2, 3, 1 is the minimum value, correct? From here it's very difficult to find that the minimum value what we are getting is correct or not. But here we know that in origin we have only 3 values, 1, 2, 3, and when we are applying min function, we are getting 1. That means we are getting the correct output over here. So that's how we can get the final outcome based on the different formulas which is used for statistical summary. Now the next step is how to perform univariate analysis using Excel command and how to create charts for visualization of the above data. So the next prompt what I am giving here is write command in Excel to perform univariate analysis and how to create charts for visualization of the above data. When I will enter this, let's see what output we are getting here. So univariate analysis is basically what? If you want to visualize single variable at a time, so there we perform univariate. If you want to perform or if you want to check the relationship between 2 variables, then there we will perform bivariate analysis. So here to perform univariate analysis, we'll use various plots. We can use histogram, we can use box plot, we can use pie chart. Histogram is a common way to visualize the distribution of variable, how the variable is distributed. And box plot is to check the median and to check whether do we have outliers or not. So that's how we can do. So here we are getting different ways to visualize the data. Visualization using charts. If you want to perform univariate analysis, means if you want to analyze single variable, so one way is using histogram. For that, you have to select the data which you want to analyze and then go to insert tab, insert a statistic chart and choose histogram. When I go to Excel sheet, I have selected over here is origin values from H2 till H84 I have selected. Now I'll go to insert tab. There I'll click on recommended charts, all chart. I want to select histogram. So when I'll select histogram, I'm getting over here the output. So that's how my output is. This one is 1, then 2, and this one is 3. So that's how you can check which one has the higher value. Series 1, how many value till 59. Okay, so we are getting the frequency which is distributed in this column. So 59 values of 1, and this one is series 1.2 values. 2 has 14 values. So that's how you can visualize the column using histogram. So now next what I'm going to visualize, I'm going to visualize the other column but using box plot. So if I want to use box plot, only the process is same. You only have to select the values for which you want to visualize through box plot. Go to insert tab, go to that recommended charts, click on all charts and select which one you want to select. Like for an example, here is box and whisker. The other name is box and whisker plot only. So when I select box and whisker plot here, I'm getting the box plot for the relatable values which I have selected over here. So that's how you can select the box plot and you can visualize the data. Now the next part is pie chart also. Pie chart, like how to visualize the data using pie chart. Same way, I want you all to explore this. I apply the same way as I applied for visualizing the data using histogram and box plot. Same way, you have to go to insert tab. There you have to select the recommended charts and click on all charts and select the pie chart option. Before that, you have to select the data for which you want to visualize through pie chart. So this is the way to analyze the single variables, each variables of our data set using different charts which comes under univariate analysis. Thank you. So what we have covered so far, let's discuss what we have learned. Data analysis, which is a method of inspecting, cleaning, transforming and modeling data to discover useful information and conclusions. Next, we covered ChatGPT 4, which is a multi-model and is very more accurate than ChatGPT 3.5. Then we understood how to analyze data using both Python and Excel, employing various prompts through ChatGPT 4 to conduct the analysis. So this is all about for today's session. Thank you.